Welcome back, folks, to the Mail Right Show. This is episode 197. I'm really looking forward to this particular interview. We've got a great guest on the show that's built up a multi-million-dollar business, that's worked with a number of small businesses, helping them become more profitable. I'm sure he's going to have some great insights, and that's Brad Sugars, the founder and chairman of ActionCoach. Brad, thank you so much for agreeing to coming on the show. I've been really looking forward to this interview. Would you like to introduce yourself to the listeners and viewers?
Well, first of all, I just want to say, guys, how did it take you 197 episodes to finally get me on here? That's the first question I had. Really? I wasn't number 1 or 2 on your list. I mean, that's the first thing.
It's all my fault.
We always look. I'm Australian. We blame anyone that's anywhere near related to English. So that's first and foremost.
I know my place. I knew it was going to be a difference between you and Robert. I knew it was going to be different.
About 200 years ago, you sent all the fun people to Australia. We know that, so that's okay. You know, that's. Anyway, listen. Built ActionCoach, built many companies. I'm basically an entrepreneur who fell into a training business and then turned it into business coaching, and now has the biggest business coaching company in the world, 88 countries. I think we're just topped 1,100 offices, I believe, around the world. We just opened in Russia. That's kind of cool. We're coaching business people in Russia, Egypt.
Oh, I'm sure that's really interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll get called up on a presidential inquiry very soon now, so you never know what'll happen. But
which president?
You would just be joining a very long list, won't you?
And book number 17, this one back here behind me, Pulling Profits Out of a Hat. So I keep writing, I keep teaching, and I keep buying companies. So that's what keeps me busy.
That's great. And I've got my great co-host. He's returned from his vacation to Europe. He's traveled.
Wasn't a vacation. I was working, but
you seem to be partying a little bit. You seem
riding a bike around for me.
A little bit chilled out to me, but there we go. It seemed a little bit of business and a lot of
soul searching, writing, doing stuff that's necessary to keep me focused on the mission at hand.
Yeah, right.
Here's what it is, Jonathan. The only things that get posted on social media are the fun parts. Sitting in a meeting does not get posted on social media.
Right, I'll listen to whatever you got to say, Brad.
Anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, sure. Robert, would you like to introduce yourself to the new listener?
Sure. I'm the founder of Inbound REM. We started off as a blog educating real estate agents and brokers on how to do real estate marketing, and then we branched out, started a service company that now is a full-service SEO inbound marketing company that actually does the marketing for real estate agents and brokers. If you want to know more about me, you should check out my website, inboundrem.com.
That's great. So, Brad, I'll start off, with your very extensive experience on helping small businesses. That's what a real estate agent is involved in, building a business and a local brand. Reflecting back, is there one thing that comes to your mind that a real estate agent really needs to understand?
Oh, dang. Only one? You do make it tough. Start off with the really easy, hard question. It's easy. What do they need to learn? And then make it hard by saying, what's the one thing? Look, I think that the first and foremost is understanding the value and the value proposition that you bring to the table. How are you different from any other real estate agent? Because that's, in my books, I go back to, I've had many realtors as clients over the years, and I just look at how do you differentiate yourself from everybody else? Because everyone's going to call 2 or 3, everyone's going to interview 2 or 3, get appraisals, from 2 or 3, and then they're going to make a decision on who represents them. Then they're going to look at who's going to represent them as a buying agent. And what you've got to understand is that person buying has to find know, like, and trust real quick. I mean, know, like, and trust has been around forever in sales for one simple reason. Why do I know? How do I know you? How do I like you? How do I trust you? And so I always look at, what do you do? And if I was to boil it down to one thing, it's in an invisible situation, you got to turn yourself into something visible. So what is it that you do? How do you do it that actually makes you visible? So I bought a prop on today's call, right? This here, so ActionCoach, we coach business owners, right? when we go to introduce ourselves to someone, here's what we actually send out. We send out this beautiful box with our logo. The label will be up here. We actually send it on a crosstown courier, so it'll be to you within 2 to 4 hours of buying, right, of calling us. Got all the quotes, you know, the quote on the back here, the biggest risk you can take is to do nothing, by some handsome guy named Brad Sugars. You know, you open the box up, and the first thing you see is this big folder with a list of all of our programs. Over here's the letter, and down here's the business card. The next thing you see is this chip, okay? It's like a business card chip thing that literally goes out, and they put it in. It's a video of me, but it's also testimonials from clients. It's a whole bunch of things. Then there's a whole book, which is testimonials from our clients, or case studies of our clients and how they've succeeded in business. And there's a whole magazine about everything we do and what we do, and case studies again of our clients and how they've succeeded. So if you start thinking about it, before we even arrive at your doorstep, you've already got this whole package that shows you who we are, what we do, why we do it, how we do it. You got a package that says our customers love us. You got a package that shows you why we're different to anyone else you've ever spoken to in business coaching. You see, my biggest challenge with most realtors is that they think, well, I'm a salesperson, I just need to use sales. No. The marketing is missing. If you have, and I will be very blunt here, if you have a freaking billboard or a bus sign with your freaking head on it, I need to kick you in the backside right now, because that is just like, I just want to die every time I see one of those billboards with your head. And the real estate guy, good luck, you know, congratulations, that's fantastic. No, that's not. Once they've contacted you is when the marketing really starts.
So I just want to point out something for our listeners who've been with us for a while. So Brad, if you guys are just listening and you're not actually watching, you should at some point move over to our YouTube channel so that you can actually look at Brad's identity and marketing package that he held up. And the reason that I say that is that John and I have many times on the show talked about the importance and relevance of case studies. And virtually everybody that I know in real estate right now that is making any money using direct marketing on what we call a landing page inside our digital business, they're doing it through case studies, which is what you just literally held up and then said, I've got case studies here, I've got case studies here. It seems to be your primary mechanism of transferring brand.
Well, let's remember this, that your marketing message, the champion, or if you look at a great movie, the movie has a winner, it has the champion, right? Every marketing message, the champion of that message can't be you as the business. It has to be your customer. The customer must be the one in the story. The customer must be part of that story. And so if you're building a marketing campaign that's about you and how great you are and how you're a genius and how you are the rock star, you've just lost. You immediately just lost the whole thing. There's 3 things in marketing today that are absolutely vital, more vital than they've ever been in the history of marketing. Number 1 is ratings. Your ratings are the most important thing today in marketing. It doesn't matter what you look at. If you are not rated properly, and I ask people all the time, no matter what business, hey, tell me, what's your Google rating right now? If I go on your website, if I go on Google and I look up your rating for your business, what is it? And people look at me and go, I don't know. I'm like, you just shot yourself in the head. I mean, you may as well just give up business if you don't know your ratings. And of course, there's local websites and there's industry-specific websites and there's all that sort of stuff. But ratings is number 1 on the scale right now. Number 2 is testimonials. And testimonials that are in video are the most important testimonials you can get. There's no 2 ways about it. Video, 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 and video. If you look at where the internet is at right now, let's just understand this, right? Google AdWords. It used to be fairly cheap to buy Google AdWords. Now you're 5, 10, 15 times the price it was when it first started. If we go back to even winning just organic, remember when you could actually win organic? In fact, go back to email marketing. I remember email marketing when you could get an 80% open rate because people were like, holy shit, I got an email. Wow, I'll open this. You know, that's how old I am. So dang, there you go. It's like you wear a hat because you're young. I wear one to cover up my gray.
Brad, you got to step carefully. I look 15 years younger than I am. I'm pretty damn close to your age.
So, and then you take a look at it. Today's world, and this is where your inbound stuff, and this is what I love, is that you got to understand that getting content into Instagram, into Facebook, into any of these sites, maybe not Pinterest, but, any of these, LinkedIn, getting video into these things, creating the expert and just being that person. You cannot beat that. That's why, even before we did this, Robin, I'm going to throw you under the bus a little bit here. Before I got on this, he's like, Brad, how is a guy like you, how do we get you on our little podcast? I am a micro marketer. I'm a content creator. I want content in as many places, in as many ways, in as many things. People say, oh, it costs a lot of money to do marketing. No, it takes a lot of time today. About 50% of marketing today is money. The other 50% is time. So what are you doing? Are you allocating time to marketing, or are you spending money on marketing? You can choose which one you want to do. I'm a lover of putting time into it.
Brad, first of all, thank you for mentioning that. That saved me some editing. That little podcast. It's a little podcast, but it's a power. We have a big power.
But see, here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. What you guys have understood about your podcast and what most people don't understand about marketing is the third most important thing about marketing. It's called micro. Okay? You've got to get granular in your marketing. You've got to pick your target audiences down to the micro targets. Okay? If let's just say I asked the average realtor, who's your target audience? Well, anyone in this geographic area. Well, then you're an idiot. You don't understand marketing in any way, shape, or form. If you think anyone in your geographic area is, no. I specialize in getting sales of rundown homes for interstate owners. There's one specialty market of mine. Then the second one is I specialize in investors who are owning 20 or more properties. I specialize in, see, if you get real good with your marketing, and that's what you guys have done. Yeah, you have several thousand listeners on each podcast, but they're avid fans, raving fans, love what you do. And I will admonish what you said there. Get on the YouTube channel. Don't just listen, watch, because there's a lot of different things you don't get in the inflection of just listening to a podcast.
I also I just want to share this little story because I think you're so right, Brad. Recently, I bought a new Mac and I was looking for a digital hub. So I can use all my legacy devices with my lovely new Mac, and some of these hubs, they're around $300, and they've got some lovely websites, showing their products, lovely marketing materials, and then you go to a review site like Amazon, and you read the reality that that this hub or that hub, you'd be lucky if it works or it doesn't work, and most of them blow up after 3 months. And then when you contact the support, there is no support. But on the website, they say that they give lovely support. And I just wonder if these companies are living in a kind of fantasy world where they don't
what they're living in is, I'll tell you where they're living.
Consumers just going to go to a review site and learn the truth about them.
Where they're living is marketing has no reality of what's going on in operations. Where they're living is two totally different parts of the world.
For our audience, once again, because Brad is shooting off, so guys, I want to re-emphasize. We're probably talking to one of the most relevant guys in business coaching, and he's giving out a lot of really rapid fire advice. So I'm just gonna summarize some of what he's saying. So Brad is saying, and I agree 100%, or I wouldn't be summarizing it, is one, don't be a wandering generality, be a meaningful specific. Pick a very specific targeted audience within your geo-specific area. If you want to be a condo specialist, great. Which condo buildings? Become an expert in those buildings. That's what we mean. Get granular with your expertise. Number two, guys, I've been saying this for a long time. I'm super happy that a guy that's never met us is getting on the show, and he's so wildly successful. And he's saying the same thing I've been saying for so long, which is get reviews in writing. Even if you're driving somebody around in your car and it's just a relationship that you had that doesn't equal a sale, for the moment, that's something you can start with. And then when you have your customers, the people who've done a transaction with you, that's when you move into the next thing that Brad said, which is get a video of those people with the keys. It's hokey or anything, or if they're happy or if they've signed the paperwork.
Can I add one little thing there?
Of course.
You're spending all this money to get someone to come and take photographs of the house. You spend all this money to get someone to come and take videos of the house. Get them to do it while they're there. Just get them to do the video, the testimonial while they're there. Don't waste the money, but get it done together.
Right. And then last but not least, also he's saying it subtly because I did ask the question and I've gotten a great answer, but Brad is really impressing me with his entrepreneurial roots, because here you have somebody that probably has more success than many of us do, yet he's on a micro-focused niche podcast that's aimed at an audience that he knows he wants to speak to. So how do you learn that from that as a real estate professional? Well, you go to Neighborhood Scout or any of the neighborhood social media sites, and you literally get on there and find out where your neighborhood meetings are taking place. And you go and you press some flesh and you take a video while you're doing it, and you start to micro market to your own demographic. That's how you apply what Brad's doing on a local level. And that's my thoughts so far about the show. I think
Yes.
Yeah, we're at break time. Yeah.
We're at break time, folks. We'll be back in a few moments where we continue our discussion with Brad Sugars, the founder and chairman of ActionCoach. We'll be back in a few moments, folks.
Well, regardless of your reasons, thanks for coming and doing the show, man.
No, this is great. As I said, I listened the other day to a couple of them. I always try to do that before I go on a podcast. I always listen to a couple. And I learned some things, and I also get to see the style. I knew today I was going to have to cut Jonathan off halfway through a sentence because they just last forever. He's English.
Okay. Right. I'm not touching that, man. I got to live with him.
We're coming back. My guest and my co-host have been insulting me, but I'm used to it. I know my place, listeners and viewers, and you know it as well. So, Brad, you've written a new book, Pulling Profits Out the Hat.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the key things that people need to know about the book, and some of the key ideas that you're trying to push in this new book?
Well, what we looked at is we sat down, we said, what is it that creates exponential growth? Because a lot of business people don't, they set a goal of 10, 20, 30% growth. And I always challenge them, well, what would you have to do to have 10 times growth or 20 times growth? Not percentage growth, but multiplied growth. And a lot of people don't even think that way, first and foremost. They sit there and go, well, 20% seems really hard. Why would 20 times just seems out of this world? And so what we sat down and looked at is which of our clients are doing that? Why are they growing such at exponential rates? And what is the similarities between those that do? And it came down to 5 disciplines. The discipline of strategy. And I use the word discipline, by the way, for a reason. It's not something you did once and got good at and then you forgot about it, because half of businesses would be twice as successful if they just did all the things they used to do that made them successful. I mean, that's crazy. So discipline of strategy, discipline of execution, discipline of people, discipline of business development, and the discipline of mission. I'll start with mission first because I think that one's important. Business, in today's world, business has to use the word love. Your customers must love buying from you, and your employees must love coming to work. It's no longer about they come to work for a paycheck. It's no longer about that. People often say, this millennial generation, it's just so bad, they're the laziest. Well, every generation has been called the laziest generation by the previous generations. That's happened forever and a day, so we're not going to worry about that. But what it's for is it's the why are we doing this, the mission of the company. And if you don't have a why, then it's very hard for your customers to buy into your vision. It's very hard for your customers or your staff to buy into what you're doing and feel like they love coming to work.
So can I ask a little sub-question of that?
Sure.
Most people, most real estate agents or power teams, they would be honest. They would say they got into real estate because they want to make good money.
Yep.
And they want to provide good service, but also a lifestyle to their family.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they got into real estate. And some people would criticize that reason, but I think that's a totally honest and fair thing to say, isn't it? As long as you also want to provide good service to your clients.
Yeah, and that's great if you just want to be average.
Right.
If you don't want exponential growth, then fantastic, do that. But if you want exponential growth, the similarity in the companies that are doing that is they have a mission that is above and beyond making money, above and beyond just good service. It's doing something for the community. It's adding value to people. It's building, that's what we do. When you look at these companies, because the reason I wrote the book called Pulling Profits Out of a Hat is I sit with a buddy of mine at lunch, and he's runs a very large corporation worldwide. And he said, it just seems like magic the way these companies like IKEA and Amazon do this. It's just magic. I said, seriously, you actually think it's magic? I said, all magic is just a system, same as business is just a system. There is a recipe for business success. I remember one of I think it was maybe my third or fourth book, it's called The Business Coach. And after we'd coached 13,000 companies to success, I wrote the book on this is the formula for how we create a successful business. This is the actual recipe. If you follow the recipe, you too can succeed. If you don't follow the recipe, you're not going to succeed. In most business cases, let me be really blunt, most people never even learn the recipe, let alone follow it. So, and there's the even crazier part is some people, they go and write a book and they've never coached one business and they go, here's the business success button. Come on, seriously? We did 13,000. We have 18,000 clients a week we coach in the world. We have 200 and something thousand a month that we work with on our group programs. This systematic methodology, and that's why I go to 5 disciplines, because people are like, well, what if I get 3 of them? Well, then your business will be okay, I guess. If you want it to be exponential and growing year on year on year, multiplying, then you got to get 5. You can't get 4. You can't get 7. You got to get 5. That's... it took 2 years to write this book. It's 392 pages. It weighs 2.5 pounds. It's a giant of a book.
Wow.
How much research did you have to do to write this? So you're at your lunch with your friend, and he brings up this concept, and you intellectually as an entrepreneur go, I know that this is systematic.
Yep.
But how do you? Because I've written before myself.
So that's where I grabbed my co-author, Monty White, who's one of my top executive coaches in the world, who does this all day, every day with these clients. And we spent 2 years putting this book together. So 2 years of working with clients, 2 years of testing it on them, throwing it at them, getting them to do it, getting them to use it, see what happens. Oh man. And then creating this book, and it's like a full color print and all of that sort of stuff. It's like, it's heavy.
So you like to talk about case studies a lot. You test marketed it for 2 years before you turned it into print form. What happened with the case studies?
Basically what happens is this. So what we found with most good businesses is that they've got 3 out of the 5, maybe 4, but most often 3 out of the 5 disciplines where they're doing good. And oftentimes that comes down to the experience of the owner or the experience of the CEO. So like if I'm more sales oriented, then of course that area is going to be more where I'm good at and that sort of thing. If I'm more leadership oriented, then the people and the community and the mission is going to be more. So what we found is that to round them out, first of all, that was tough. To round them out was real tough because first of all, they got to understand the 5, then they got to understand the value of the 5, and then they got to start working through. It took us about 12 weeks, about 3 months to get traction in each of the 5 disciplines. And that's why we built a whole process where if anyone wants to, they can jump on pullingprofits.com, and there's a whole process we take people through for 12 weeks in each of the 5 disciplines to actually get them to have that result and start with the exponential growth. And so, yeah, growth rates improve, all that sort of stuff. But even you just go back to that simple mission and you add mission and people together, and you're taking a group of people that, because you got to remember in this day and age, we're in the most disengaged workforce age that we've ever had, the right. Most disengaged. Take the mission and add, how do you actually recruit, hire, train, manage, lead, mentor, coach, great employees? Add those 2 together and you start getting traction. Then you got to get the right strategy. See, strategy is a discipline that most people have no clue. They're like, oh, my strategy is Facebook advertising. That's a tactic, my friend. That's not a strategy. Strategy is how you build the entire organization. Strategy.
I've got a little question about those staff, and I think it's very relevant for real estate if you want to build up a small team. Is that I've looked at recent surveys in Britain and in the US, and it says that almost 90% of employees hate their job and hate the company that they're working for. Do you think that's probably right? And in the reality of the marketplace, how can employer change that and have a workforce that's really, focused and enjoys their work?
Well, I'll give you 3 answers to that. Number one, I don't agree that they hate their work. I agree that they're disengaged. I agree that they are not on loving coming to work. There's a distinction between hate and not loving. There's a distinction there. And if we look at all the surveys, and there's a bunch of them out there on employee engagement. I also own an employee engagement company called Engage and Grow. I actually just co-authored a video book, first video book I ever did with Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, Dr. Mark Thompson, and Rich Maloney, and myself. If you jump on any of my social media, you can find it. It's free. It's right there. It's 10 chapters, about 10, 15 minutes each chapter, but it teaches all employee engagement strategies and how you can actually bring engagement. So there's the answer to the second part of that question. I would say the third thing is that I'll give you an answer that my dad gave me when I was, I think 20, maybe 21. And I went to him and said, you know what, Dad, I just can't get good people. And he looked me dead in the eye and he goes, Brad, you get the people you deserve. Yeah. I was like, what? He says, Brad, you're an average manager running an average company. Highest caliber of employee you're ever going to get is average. So it's like, if you're not a great manager and a great leader, don't expect great people to want to work for you. They're just not going to. You got to remember, the greatest of employees already have a job. For you to get them to come and work for you, you got to convince them to come work for you. You actually got to give them reasoning to come work for you. So why? You mentioned something there, Jonathan, about people want to build a small team. I don't ever want to coach anyone that wants to build a small team. I want to coach people who want to build a big team. And it could be a small team of massive performers, but usually to build a small team of massive performers, you got to have a fairly large team of average performers to pull out the 1 or 2 or 5 that are massive performers in amongst that. That's generally the way it works. So I love your question. I think it's a very important aspect looking at employee engagement, but without the right strategy, employee engagement's nothing. Let's a simple example of that. Let's look at strategy in any business, right? So let's say I wanted to go into the music business. I can have the strategy of being the guy that's the drummer in the band on a Friday night, or I can have the strategy of being Spotify or iTunes or anywhere in the middle. I'm still in the music industry, but what's my strategy behind that? See, most of what I do today is do you remember, did you see the movie The Founder with Ray Kroc? It was about him and McDonald's. It should have been called The Finder, not The Founder. Because he didn't found McDonald's. He came along and he was a finder. He came across the McDonald brothers and did that. So that's what I do today. Like, I just bought a company down in Melbourne, Australia, commercial cleaning business. Now, great company, phenomenal systems, amazing marketing and sales stuff, and they're in one city. I'm like, let's put you all over Australia, and then we're going to go all over England, and then we'll go all over America, and then we'll worry about the rest of the world. Just bought a company down in Houston, Texas, property management company. Amazing systems, brilliant outsourcing, brilliant, just phenomenal. One city, Houston, Texas. Now they're all across Texas. Now we're going all across the United States. Just in the middle of raising capital to put that thing in every city in the U.S. 2,200 offices, I believe we'll end up with. The thing about it is and the reason I started with the whole thought of exponential growth is I think most business people think too small. You can work 40, 60 hours a week building a small business. You can work 40, 60 hours a week building a massive business, same number of hours.
Oh, thank you so much. Any chance of you sending a copy of your book signed?
Absolutely. You order it on Amazon, I'll send it to you.
All right, that's great. Well, thank you. Sign it.
I'm a salesman, John. I'm a salesman. You know that through and through. I'm never giving away something I can sell. And there's another good lesson.
I thought I'll try. If you don't ask, you don't get anything.
That's exactly right. But remember this also. I teach this stuff and I fall for it.
Right, there we go. So let's finish the podcast. So, Brad,
do we get the 10 extra minutes? Because I want to do the same thing with this section that I've done for the others and summarize them into actionable lessons for our people. Can we do that in bonus content?
That one, Borry in the office walks in and pushes me away. So Brad, how can what's the best way for people to find out more about you, your ideas, and what you're up to?
Any social media, you'll find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, not Pinterest, just not a Pinterest guy. Or bradsugars.com or actioncoach.com. You can jump on any of those. We make it pretty easy to find us. If you jump on actioncoach.com, we got everything right there.
That's great. And Robert, how can people find out more about you and what you are?
Same way that I opened up the show with, inboundrem.com is always just the best way to find out about me. You can see the podcast. I've got all the same stuff that Brad does, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, but just go to my website.
And if you want to find out more about MailRite, we've got some fantastic announcements to say. We've added a interactive page builder to our website functionality, so you can drag and drop and move things around and build your own great real estate marketing landing pages, all drag and drop. And also on our social media side, we've added Instagram, so you can push and we can supply posts not only to Facebook, Twitter, but to Instagram as well. If that sounds really interesting, and it should be to you, go to the MailRite website, have a reader, and you can also sign up for a free demo, and I will show you personally, myself, the power of MailRite. We'll be back next week, folks, with another great guest or internal discussion with my great host, Robert. And we wish you great hunting and getting those quality leads. We'll be back next week, folks. Bye.
Are we doing...
And now we're gonna do our bonus content.
Okay. All right. So I would like to kick this off by summarizing a couple things that Brad, once again, is demonstrating through action as opposed to necessarily pointing them out. So another thing that I talk about a lot, Brad, especially now, I'm not talking globally. You are a global coach talking about huge operations. But one thing that I mention frequently in terms of building trust and marketing yourself to inside of real estate is defining an expertise that you have, which you've done very well for us on this show. You are really super confident in saying, I'm an amazing business coach. And indeed, you sound like one. I think you're probably more of an amazing entrepreneur and you let other people be amazing business coaches, but nonetheless, I think, so you figure out your expertise and then you give it away, which is something you've done 6 different times in 6 different calls to action inside our show. When you figure out that you have something that you know, you put it online somewhere and send people to it, hopefully on a website that you built for yourself. Because once the expertise is demonstrated, 80% of the trust that you need to build to make a sale has been established. Like, I'm probably going to go buy Brad's book. Why? Because he demonstrated expertise to me. I trust that he knows what he's talking about. And now that I think that, I will certainly not mind spending a little money exploring what other parts of his expertise he may not have transferred in my little interaction here, which I think personally, and you can weigh in on this, guys, but I personally think that's a huge part of sales in today's world. It's just that transfer of knowledge, which is where inbound marketing comes in. So
I think that, buddy, you're right on the money. I built ActionCoach. My first 2 years of building this company, I did more than 200 free seminars a year, and people thought I was nuts. Everyone said, you're crazy. Why are you giving this all away? And we videoed it. We put it on YouTube because YouTube was really the only format back then, put it on our own websites. But the whole point of it is, in today's world, people trust the expert. And how are you an expert? Where are you an expert? What do you actually know something about? And every realtor has more knowledge than they actually understand they have. Because I go back to one of the first books I ever read on marketing, My Life in Advertising and Scientific Advertising, Claude C. Hopkins, written in the 20s, I think, 1920s, where he said, you can tell the story of how you do something and you think it's just normal because you're used to your industry. But when the customer hears about what you do, they're like, wow. Like you might do a whole bunch of things to do the marketing, and you might have 17 steps in your marketing strategy to help someone market their property. when you start telling people, we have a 17-step process to make sure that the marketing of your thing, and you think it's just normal, but to a consumer, that's a differentiator between you and everybody else.
Right. I agree with that. And nobody knows anymore. There used to be, if you had a fancy billboard someplace, somebody would presume some expertise from that billboard. And would you agree with me on this, Brad, when I say those days are long gone? It's almost exactly the opposite. If they see a big billboard, they assume that you're a schmuck or a charlatan, and that you probably, that's why transferring expertise through webinars, through videos, through, right?
If the billboard doesn't offer any value of any way, shape, or form, today billboards are an amazing part of marketing mixes, but it's got to offer some sort of a value, some sort of a proposition. If it's just your head and your number, you're a waste of time, especially because it's a retouched picture of your head from 20 years ago. That makes it even worse. I like to think that if you're not adding value in your marketing today, marketing is communication and education. So if you combine the two, then you're doing good marketing. It's got to educate the consumer. Now it might have to educate them on the marketing area, there might be a new customer coming in buying in that area. There might be, educate me on something, give me something, write a book about moving to your city, go and do blog posts about that stuff. There's so much you can do. So much.
Agreed. And we're out of time, I think, guys. John, is there anything you want to close with?
No, I think it's been a great interview. Thank you so much, Brad, for coming on the show. It's much appreciated. Hopefully you would consider coming back. I thought we only touched some things, but time goes quick and I want to respect your time as well, Brad. So thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. And thanks, Robert. And I think we've just had another great show. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye.
Have a good one, Brad.
Thanks, guys. Bye now.
John, hang out with me for a second when he jets off.
Take care, guys.
One, man.
Bye now.